Let's go get him. Let's go get him today, man. Let's go. Hey, dominate on 3. 1, 2, 3, dominate.
Do you think that there's somewhat of an issue with the 49ers secondary as we head into Week 18?
Well, the 49ers secondary is the weakest link of this defense. There shouldn't be any question. That's something that I think's been noted for a little while. So the secondary is going to be an issue, but the 49ers, the way they get around it and the way that they build this team is off of the pressure up front and that front seven being able to get after it. And it is, if that front seven isn't getting home, they don't really have the guys on the back end that it can lock you down. And they are who they are. But you have to look at the match. That's one of the reasons why when we get into this playoff matchup and talk about it there's so much that goes into it. And I think a lot of people just look at the team name and they don't really pay attention to what that team's doing and how it can affect the 49ers because, they're just not looking at it at that depth. But the 49ers, Traverse Ward's going to be a starter. Jimmy Ward's going to be your starter in the slot. He needs to be your starter in the slot because they're not better without him in the slot. You look at, I know folks are really down on Deommodore Lenoir. He had a tough game against a guy who's beat him in the past, no doubt about it. But prior to Sunday in Las Vegas, he was playing at a very high level as an outside corner. I think he was at a passer rating allowed of, I think it was 80. Maybe that's what his number is now. I think actually it was lower than that. I'm misspeaking a little bit here, but it had been very solid. He hasn't given up a touchdown. He has 1 interception on the season. You look at him and as bad as he played on Sunday, and he was worse when he played in the slot earlier this year. The numbers, if you look back to that time, he was giving up almost 100 yards a game from the slot. So they don't have a lot of moves to make here. And Jimmy Ward going to safety to replace Talanoa Hufanga, who's been giving up some deep balls, isn't an option, I don't think. And they just need to do a better job of getting home and protecting, making sure that they're protecting their pass rush lane so that the quarterbacks can escape like what we saw on Sunday.
Yeah, I think one thing that was different, you talk about how the secondary has been the weakest point, but the reason that the 49ers are able to overcome it is because of how all 3 levels play defensively. One thing that really stood out to me, especially when you talk about the defensive line, was 0 sacks. 49ers were getting to the quarterback. That wasn't the issue. They got 26 pressures on the day, but they weren't able to finish. Stidham was able to extend plays with his legs, sometimes get the ball out quick, a lot of sort of different things. But with 26 pressures, you'd expect more than 0 sacks. And I think that, some of the big explosive plays came off extended plays where the 49ers were able to get there, but not able to finish the play with their defensive line. And that's how it worked.
Yeah, that's it. They need to get home. And you're talking about that, you brought up the Washington game as another example. Well, they didn't get home against Washington either. Nick Bosa had 2 sacks. No other 49ers defender got home. He was sacks against the Raiders. They got no sacks again. He was, and again, the only one that Bosa affected the game the most of all of their pass rushers because of what he was able to do on that last play, the last play of the game. But other than that, they weren't getting there. You go back to the week before up in Seattle, and it wasn't an issue up in Seattle because you had 3 sacks coming from the guys, Bosa, Ebukam, Hufanga. They hit the quarterback a lot more. There's a lot more pressure around them. So that's the whole key with the 49ers is you've got to be able to get to the quarterback. You've got to make him uncomfortable, and you need to stay in your pass rush lanes. And that's really all that it comes down to.